I think you're sleepy. Come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning to everybody out there. Give a special shout out to all of our listeners throughout the country and Canada who are listening to us on the radio dial. And a special shout out to our Fight TV viewers. And don't forget, if you're not watching us on Fight TV, you're missing out, man, because you can get it on your handheld. Just go to www.fighttv, that's FITE.tv/Billy C, and download the free app right now. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, an Italian restaurant located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. And don't forget, if you're heading south for the winter, which people are really scrambling to do now that the snow has begun to fall. Yes, we got snow up here in the Adirondacks. Don't forget, it's literally a 15-minute out-of-your-way ride off of I-95. That includes stopping for a couple of lights, and it could be quicker if you just run the red lights and mention this show and get a free cannoli with your meal. You won't regret it. Trust me. It'll become a regular stop. www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com for more information. Today's show is also being brought to us by Fanfire, a great new fantasy game. It's a little different than your normal fantasy games. You can actually watch a football game, and if it's fourth down or if he's going to kick a field goal, you can actually bet, so to speak, or predict is a better choice of words, if he's going to make the first down or the field goal or whatever, and win money. Now, if you log on to our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click the Fanfire banner, which is on the left-hand side, you will be able to download the game and play the game for free. That's correct. Thanks to us, you can do it for free. And the best part is if you win money. So what are you waiting for? Log on to BillyCBoxing.com, click the Fanfire banner, which is on the left-hand side, sign up, and start winning some money today. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can pick up your copy literally right now by visiting BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. Now, you're looking to get a signed copy, visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book club section. Well, you know, it's Monday, and, the aftermath of Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward fight from Vegas this past weekend. And the bottom line is this decision is what's wrong with boxing today. Listen, I watched the fight several times now. And initially when I watched it live on Saturday and we did our post-fight show, which, by the way, I want to thank everybody that was part of our post-fight show. We had a great number of people calling and viewership, so I appreciate that. I scored the fight 114 to 113 in favor of Sergey Kovalev. I gave him rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then round 10, which totaled 6 rounds, plus he got the knockdown in the second round. I gave Ward rounds 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12, and then when you give him the 10-8 round, or he got the 8 points, he got a score of 113. I watched it again several times, and, there were several close rounds. Rounds 4, 5, and 6 were actually the closest that could have gone any way. And the second time I scored the fight, I actually changed my score and gave round 6 to Kovalev. So I actually had him winning by a larger margin than I initially thought. But even if you give those 3 close rounds all to Ward, I just can't imagine that you would end up with 8 rounds to 4 in favor of Ward. It was a horrific decision when you look at it. It was a great fight, close fight, no doubt. Horrific decision. Joining me right now is my main man, Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, Saturday night on a post-fight show, you had it even at a larger margin in favor of Andre Ward. Now that you had, of Sergey Kovalev over Andre Ward. Now that you've had some time to let it sink in and digest, what's your thoughts today as a Monday morning quarterback? Do you have anything changed?
I'll tell you what, I tentatively mark maybe, even if I could, maybe 3 of the 12 rounds where I could have almost seen any one of those 3, if not all 3 of those rounds, actually as a draw. But I still feel that it was definitely more than 1 or 2 round difference that I had Kovalev still winning that fight ahead of Andre Ward. And for the life of me, Billy, I don't know if it was Coach or if it was Dax that came out and said we had 3 United States judges in that ring that night. For the life of me, I can't see how it was agreed upon by Sergey Kovalev for that. There should have been one from Russia, should have been one from either the UK or China or Canada, and there should have been one from the United States. I think they would have seen the fight differently. I think we'd have a different conversation this morning. And although I give 100% the credit to Ward, Andre Ward, for coming back and swallowing those big punches that he felt in those early rounds, and for actually making some of those rounds close, that he even won a few rounds. But I don't think he surmounted the kind of fight that would give him the victory over what I saw the other night. And faux pas to Kovalev, who took his foot off the pedal when he had his opponent hurt. It's credit to Ward, and it's a shame that Kovalev. But I saw the fight, and I still call Kovalev the victor. And it was just maybe not as large a margin I first saw, but I gave even 1 or 2 of those rounds as a draw. I still have Kovalev, and I gave Andre Ward a couple of rounds too, but not the majority of those rounds as a victor. It was all Kovalev in my eyes, and that's what I saw.
Well, I do agree with you. I mean, you got to give Ward credit. But at the end of the day, the 2 main problems I had with the fight go all the way back, and I think it was Dax who compared this fight with the Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler fight in the mid-'80s. And that fight changed the complexion of the sport of boxing. And the reason is because you had a guy that was dominating the division in Marvin Hagler for almost a decade, and Sugar Ray Leonard, who obviously was a superstar, who comes out of retirement, challenges the best of out there, and made it a close, entertaining fight, similar to what we saw on Saturday night. And at the end of the night, I mean, the unwritten rule about you really have to beat the champion, knock the champion down at least, let alone knock him out to win the title. I mean, that's one perk a world champion should get. All of that was tossed out the window when the judges gave the fight to Sugar Ray Leonard. Since then, we've seen those kinds of decisions more often than not in this sport, which is clearly a black eye for the sport, no pun intended. And on Saturday night, we saw the same thing. Even if you want to give Andre Ward a lot of credit, clean, effective punching with the most damage had to go to Kovalev. The one point that Kovalev made after the fight was he didn't rush in. He seemed to be conscious of staying calm, cool, and collective, and as a result, it may have hurt him in that fight, Sal. Because I think if he would have went balls to the wall, I think his punches clearly were hurting Ward. To have Ward, well, let me give you some comments that both fighters made immediately after the fight. One of the first questions they asked Andre Ward was he surprised that he won the fight? And Ward, in true diva fashion, what this guy has become, a fighter that I totally loved to watch when he was in the Super 6, and now I loathe to watch him. said no. I wasn't surprised when I heard the decision. I don't know where you got that from. I knew it was a close fight. The crowd, you can hear that they thought that I won. I've been a champion before, and I knew it was going to be a tough fight. It was the first time in my career I was dropped. He did everything I expected him to do. He started to slow up as I expected, and he started to fight like I expected. My coach did a great job. I call myself great. At the end of the day, I'm a 2-weight division champion. Of course, I may do a rematch, but I don't want to negotiate that fight right now. I'm going to go home and relax and see what makes sense for me next. What bothers me about this comment is, first of all, as far as him being great, I'm going to leave that alone because I don't like calling fighters great until their career is over. For him to call himself great is just a par for the cause of the type of individual that Andre Ward has become. As far as the crowd is concerned, I don't know who thought he won the fight. This has kind of become a racial fight, Sal. I hate to say it, but it has. And I'm sick to my stomach over it, that we see and hear some of the comments that are being made from both sides. And it's very disheartening. As far as considering giving Kovalev a rematch, I would be shocked, 100% shocked, if Kathy Duva and Main Events did not have a rematch clause in the contract. If they did, shame on them, and they don't deserve a rematch with Ward. As far as Ward giving his coach, Virgil Hunter, all the credit, I did not hear, and I will admit I did watch the fight several times without the sound on because I thought maybe even myself was influenced by the definitely biased announcing team, and I wasn't. But anyway, when I listened to the instruction Virgil Hunter was giving him in between rounds, there was nothing, not one technical thing did I hear come out of Virgil Hunter's mouth except for rah-rah shit. I mean, it was disheartening to me to hear him say he's going to knock him out. And he was scared to death about the fight. He kept saying, we need these last 2 rounds, to even get it close. This is what he was saying,
Right.
and then he gets the decision. What's your thoughts on his comments? And then I'll give you Kovalev's.
Well, I'll tell you what, as you just said, it was more of a rah-rah. The thing is this, and I will tell you one thing. I know one person that was elated and acted very surprised by her son's victory was Andre Ward's mother. She was at one point crying during the middle of the fight. But the bottom line is this. Yeah, it's one thing to be a rah-rah, this and that, but it's another to say, hey, look, this guy's going on here. He's throwing that right hand, and you're tucking away from it. Just let him do that. Feint that thing again and draw him in. Be technical. Give some constructive criticism on how you can counter what you see is going on there, and bait him a little bit. And I didn't hear that from the corner, but I did hear a lot of rah-rah and everything else, and which is fine. You got to help give your fighter confidence. We're all spoiled from the year like an Angelo Dundee telling Sugar Ray Leonard, hey, if you're blowing his babe, you want to win, you got to go out there and knock him out, whatever. And against the Tommy Hearns, and that was Sugar Ray Leonard. Those days are gone. When we have these technical guys, or I'm sorry, these less than technical guys out there in the corners, some of them still do a great job. Others are nothing more than a little rah-rah coach, cheerleader.
Yep. And, it's a shame because it adds to what the problem with the sport is. Kovalev said it was the wrong decision. I don't want to say that that's my opinion. The witnesses are here. They saw it.
Yeah.
It was my job. It was the fight of my life. I'm disappointed in the judge's decision. He got maybe a few rounds. I agree with that, but I kept control. When he said that made me realize that, he was so conscious of keeping control of not getting wild that it might have cost him the fight. Anyway, he says, I lost maybe 3 rounds the whole fight. Of course I want a rematch, and I'll kick his ass. I want to show good boxing. I'm here. I'm against here. I am against here. It's the USA, and all the judges were from the USA. He's a boxer. It's a sport. Let's not make it political. It's a sport, and I won this fight.
That's good.
I do believe he won the fight, and I feel it's really Sal. I've been talking these last several months actually of how the sport has become not too great for me anymore, and I'm finding it hard to get interested in the sport, especially with the path it's become. With these fighters fighting safe and running and doing all of this, and then pounding their chest saying they're the best. And then after this fight, and to see some of the comments from the fans, if people don't think that Andre Ward was running in that fight. I mean, this was a guy that did not put more than 2 punches together. This was a guy, people were trying to convince me over the weekend that Kovalev was the guy holding, and he may have clinched a couple of times, but clearly Andre Ward was instigating the holds. And, by the way, nobody mentioned the headbutts that Andre Ward was employing. I mean, I thought that, overall, Andre Ward is a dirty fighter, and I think he's although he's got a great record and he's accomplished more than anyone dreams of, I think he's a bit overrated. I think he was smart and stole the fight, and who knows what was put in the judges' pockets to score this fight like this. But I thought that it was terrible, and I think boxing will never be the same. After this fight, I think we've lost a lot of fans, and I think we've gained the worst kind of fans. And I'm not sure where, even despite some strong bouts that are scheduled from now until the end of this year, I'm not sure if we can rebound from this, Sal. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think, I do appreciate and respect your opinion 100%. And like we always talk about the doom and gloom of boxing, I do feel there's going to be some resurrection. Whenever it hits the lowest, it's going to be rebuilt. I'm hopeful. Let me say, I'm probably more hopeful than the thought process of saying, yeah, it's going to happen. I think boxing fans, the purists like you and I, and many, many millions of others out there, will take this one to heart, will reassess, but there's going to be another fight out there that we're going to be interested in seeing, and we're going to come back to the well. That's just a fact. The bottom line is, though, yeah, it hurt boxing. It hurts the credibility of the judges. And like I said, for the life of me, I'm still beside myself. Well, let me sit on this side of the couch. I'm still beside myself. Anyway, that's a joke. I think that for the life of me, the 3 judges from the United States, I just on a fight at this level, it just makes sense to have somebody from not the United States in there as well.
Listen,
and,
it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Like Dax said on Saturday night, in Vegas, to have 3 judges all with the same identical score of 114, 113 for the opposite side that most people felt. This fight stinks. There's something
going on there that we don't know about.
It totally stinks of corruption, and I'm shocked. Yeah. John McKay was one of the judges in that fight, and he's usually a straight up guy. I don't know. So anyway, let's just get people. I got a couple of emails here. Hey, by the way, people are trying to call in right now. We're not taking any calls right now. Dax Khan is scheduled to join us here in about a half hour, about 20 to the hour. So he'll get some, give us an update on social media, what's going on with that. So hang tight. We'll try to open up the lines. We do have a short week this week because of the holiday. We will be back on Wednesday, but we won't be back until after the holiday. So hang tight on that. Also on that card, Darlis Perez and Maurice Hooker fought to a draw. Another disheartening fight because I thought Darlis Perez won this fight clearly. I didn't even think it was. I didn't even think it was close. The fight wasn't even close in my opinion. And to have that turn out to be a draw was despicable. I mean, 97-93 for Perez was an accurate score. Then some judge scores at 97-93 for Hooker, which makes no sense. And then you have the plant judge that filled out his score before the fight started, 95-95. Again, this card really stinks. of corruption, and this was another fight, in my opinion, that it took place in a Oleg Sander Godsdick. It was a boring fight against Isaac Chilimba, and to see Roy Jones Jr. in the corner. I mean, listen, Roy Jones Jr., Hall of Fame fighter, great fighter, love to watch him. Occasionally, I enjoy hearing his bullshit as a commentator on HBO, but let me tell you, he don't know how to train a fighter, I'll tell you that, because if he's going to be a trainer, and granted, he was only with Chilimba for this one fight, he didn't tell him anything. He goes back, he's ready to kiss the guy after the first round, go, you look great, you look fantastic, you're doing everything great. And I'm saying to myself, what the fuck fight is he watching? I mean, Jesus, it was sad to see him in there. I don't know. Nonetheless, Godzik wins the fight. He improves to 12-0 with 10 knockouts. Chilimba drops to 24-5. Curtis Stevens, the thing about Curtis Stevens, something that he was ruined by one of the worst trainers in boxing, Andre Rozier, who's a relative to Curtis Stevens. Curtis Stevens developed that toe tap. I don't know what he gets out of it, but it's like a hitch when you have a hitch in your swing when you're playing baseball. He taps his toe, and it's so nerve-wracking to watch, and I'm sure it takes away something from Curtis Stevens. He started out strong, looked good against James De La Rocha, then ran out of gas, and De La Rocha and Curtis Stevens ends up going the distance, with Curtis Stevens winning a unanimous decision, 96-92 twice, 98-90. I thought the fight was slightly closer than that. I thought that James De La Rocha was landing shots, but the judges in this fight decided to give the punches that had more pop behind them to Curtis Stevens, which he did have the harder punches, gave him the decision, unlike the Ward-Kovalev fight, where clearly Kovalev had the harder punches and did not get the decision. Another fight that I want to mention that took place on Saturday, Marco Captain Huck defended and retained his IBO Cruiserweight World title and improved to 40 wins, 3 losses, and a draw when he beat the very tough European champ, Dmitro Kusher, in a unanimous decision in Germany. 117-111 twice, 119-109 were away to 3 judges scored that one. Kusher drops to 24 wins, 2 losses, and a draw, with 18 wins coming by knockout. And Huck, he improves to 40 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, and 27 knockouts. Friday night, a tough fight. We were actually talking about the fighter that was in this fight, Mauricio Herrera. He came up on the short end. Pablo Cesar Cano and beat him to improve to 30 wins, 5 losses, and a draw with 21 knockouts. It was a split decision. One judge saw Herrera winning it 95-93, but the other 2 scorecards came out 97-91 in favor of Pablo Cesar Cano. Another fighter who I enjoy watching, by the way, and I enjoy watching this guy, Diego Chavez, who improved to 25-2 with a draw when he scored a first-round stoppage over Luis Pablo Zarate, who drops to 21-4, 30 seconds into the first round, and then he was dropped, and then the referee stopped it at 55 seconds. If you guys don't recall who Chavez is, he fought some tough fights with Bam Bam Rios, Timothy Bradley, and Keith Thurman. Georgie Groves won a decision in the super middleweight division over Edward Gutnick on Friday. He improved to 25-3 with 18 knockouts. Gutnick drops to 30 wins, 5 losses, and a draw. And some getting back into the mixed fights. Matt Koroborov improved to 27-1 when he won a decision over Scott Sigmund, who drops to 27-10. Julian Rodriguez improved to 15-0 with 10 knockouts when he scored a 8-round decision over the Corpus Christi Kid, Jerry Belmontes. And Christopher Diaz improved to 19-0 when he won a unanimous decision over Fernando Vargas. That's what took place over the weekend in significant fights. But the fight that's on everybody's mind, Sal, clearly is the Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev fight, which is still getting a lot of discussion, and rightfully so. It was a horrific decision. How about let's go to a couple of emails and see what we got there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's time. Let's do that.
All right. Jesse, my man Jesse, actually sent this email prior to the fight. He says, hey, Billy C., I read that 26 to 11 of the boxing experts, trainers, etc., have picked Andre Ward to win this fight. Is that a surprise for you? Well, the truth of the matter is, now remember, this email came before the fight. The truth of the matter is, it doesn't surprise me that they picked the fight. But all of those experts and writers, most of them picked Kovalev after the fight, that he won the fight. So it doesn't surprise me that Andre Ward got the nod because of his boxing ability. But after the fight, it was completely reversed. Everybody that watched the fight, most experts feel that Sergey Kovalev won that fight. He says, what's your thoughts on Trump taking a picture with Floyd? That was a weird picture of two people with different mindsets. I don't understand why Trump says the things he says about Mexicans when he's a huge boxing fan and had to sit around so many hardworking fans in attendance. Julio Cesar Chavez considered him a friend, but's bothered of what he says. People miscue what he says. What he says with Trump. First of all, it doesn't shock me that Floyd Mayweather and Donald Trump posing for a picture together. Yeah. I mean, Floyd Mayweather is all about making money. So is Donald Trump. I mean, he's sidetracked now because he happens to be the president of the United States. But the truth of the matter is that they are very similar in mindset in terms of greed and money and power. So, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. But as far as Trump with the Mexicans and any other group of people that want to come into the United States, what Donald Trump says is he doesn't want illegal immigration. That's it.
Say that word again.
Illegal
immigration.
Exactly.
Illegal.
That's
illegal.
it. And his point about Mexican illegal immigration is all he's saying is follow the right protocol and come on in. He admits that we need immigration. Well, of course we do. But unlike the other party, they just say open up the floodgates, let everybody come in. And if you're referring to some of the negative things about Mexicans coming over that are rapists and killers and thieves and all of that, again, he was referring to illegal, because obviously if you go through the right protocol, all of that background and everything is checked. And so I don't know. I think it's been miscued. He says, Billy and Sal, is that Conor McGregor able to? Why is that Conor McGregor able to land his straight hand instantly as the other fighter throws his straight right? Is it that accuracy, or just MMA fight is not able to read the left hand? Why is that fighters have trouble with lefties? I heard that it's hard to find lefties to spar with. When they fight him, it's too late. I'm not a big knowledgeable guy of Conor McGregor. I think maybe he just is up on timing. I know Sal doesn't follow MMA as much, but Sal can answer the question about fighting lefties easier than myself. So, Sal, I'll toss it to you. Why do fighters have trouble fighting lefties?
It's so funny, and that is the stereotype. I was put into the ring with southpaws to spar with early in my amateur career. And I fought many southpaws in my professional career, fought many southpaws in my amateur career. So I learned from an early age how to offset, counter, and beat them. And it has a lot to do with your footing and your placement, but it has a lot to do with also your ability to feint, to assume that this is going to happen and they're going to go this way and that way. Because when you actually understand how to fight a southpaw, I mean, I look forward to fighting southpaws because it was more natural for me to fight a southpaw than most fighters that could handle a southpaw. And again, many times I knew where to keep my hands if I was going to go downstairs to the belly, which I did many times, and just doing a fake step and just moving one way laterally the other way, countering up, and making it a fight, making it my fight. And once you're inside, too, on a fighter, once you work your way inside, that was my whole game plan, because I was always a shorter, more agile fighter in a sense. I had to get inside on fighters, whether they were orthodox or whether they were southpaw. Then once I was inside, I just would time and throw the barrage of punches and counter and be inside and mix it up. And that was my fight plan. These fighters today, they don't get the opportunity to fight southpaws as much or train with southpaws as much. And that I see, because when they get in the ring with southpaws, many times they don't look like they really know what they're doing. So I think it's just the training style. I think it's just a lack of good leadership in a training program today. There are still great trainers out there today, but I think they are far and few in between from when I was active as a professional fighter.
No doubt about that.
Well,
no doubt about that. And the problem is you hit it right on the head. We don't have any real trainers, and I hate to say it, but fighters don't fight real fights anymore either, Sal. So I mean, how can you learn to fight southpaws when you're handpicking the easier fights? And one thing I want to add before I read a couple more emails, because we're falling behind here. And one thing I want to add is that there are more lefties in professional sports today than there ever was in the past. So I don't want to hear that they're rare and everything else. Left-handed people used to, everyone was trained to be right, not just in boxing. When a little kid would write with their left hand, they would move the pen and put it in the right hand. Now they realize, hey, there's nothing wrong with being a lefty. So, and I'm going back, 50, 60 years. You fast forward
that was me, Bill.
No,
that
I know.
Was me.
I know. You fast forward it to today. There's so many more people. Left-handed people are accepted more, especially in sports. Yeah. You see guys that can hit lefty in baseball and throw lefty in football and all of that stuff. They're better. So I don't buy the fighters have trouble. I just think it's a lack of training, like you said. Jesse also says, I saw Kovalev win 7 rounds to 5. There was some close rounds that I gave to Sergey, like in rounds 5 and 10. I think Kovalev was getting tired because of the holding and running of Ward. I want to see the rematch or Ward versus Stevenson or the guy who beat Chalimba. Kovalev versus Bitabev, if no rematch. Listen, you can't all of a sudden pass it by. We got to see the rematch. If they don't give a rematch, if Andre Ward doesn't give Kovalev a rematch, it just goes to show that he's a pussy. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. My man Mitch says it's funny that such an intense sport we refer to the pay as purses. And by the way, Ward got $5 million, Kovalev got $2 million, and not only did Kovalev get $3 million less than Ward, he got ripped off too. But a great point, my man Mitch. Our buddy Raheem says, Billy, this was a bad outcome for boxing, and he was referring to the Kovalev-Ward fight. Raheem, a lot of times you and I disagree on things, but I totally agree with you on this. It is the problem with the sport of boxing today. Terrible decision. Close fight, great fight, terrible decision. The wrong guy won. It's appalling. And finally, one last email, Sal. This is from my man Brett from Canada. And I was just, before I read it, it was so great that he called in. I mean, he's such a nice guy. I loved it. You can hear in his voice and how polite he is and stuff. I love Brett, and he's got such a great family, and I hope to see him soon. I was glad. I wish we could have kept him on the phone a little longer, but we had so many people trying to call in on Saturday night, and I appreciate that. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, the one thing I forgot to mention when I called in on Saturday night was how Ward was awarded decision when he didn't earn the title. What I mean by the statement is when one is the challenger and the rounds are close, it should go to the champion. Instead, if it goes to the scorecards, the rounds are close, it should go to the champion because the challenger, in this case Ward, didn't put an exclamation point on the fight. He didn't forcefully try to take that title, and thus, in my opinion, came up short. Like Ric Flair used to say, you want to be the man, then you got to beat the man. Ward didn't decisively do that on Saturday night. I really hope there's a rematch. Aside from the poor decision, it was a really good fight, and I hope to see it again. Neither fighter should move up in the pound-for-pound rankings. It should still be Chocolatito at 1, Triple G at 2, maybe Kovalev and Ward after that. Great points by Brett, Sal. I agree with him 100%. There's no way Ward, everyone said if Ward wins this fight, he'll be number 1 pound for pound. But I think that what he had to do was win the fight decisively, and he did not. And again, Dax brought that up. He brought the fight up on Saturday night with Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler, and this was a similar thing. There is no way that the challenger should wrestle the titles away from a champion unless he decisively wins. And I love the point that Brett made, Sal, about a close round You should be giving it to the champion, not the challenger. Why is the challenger getting the benefit of the doubt? This was a guy, he never fought in Vegas before. He, whether you like Andre Ward or not, he can't draw flies to a garbage convention. He did his own town of Oakland, which he insists upon fighting in. He never sells out. I mean, this was a guy, I don't understand it. I don't understand why the nod went to him, except for total corruption and racially motivated. That's it. Those are the only two things I can say. Corruption and racially motivated. That's it. Because other than that, he didn't win the fight inside the squared circle.
No, and I agree with you. And, I made reference to looking at the analogy, if the fight went this way, like a Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler, this is what we'll see. And I said, I hope it doesn't go like that. But it did. And here's the thing. A lot of people have mentioned, including you and Brett, the old days. I remember when Muhammad Ali was fighting Jimmy Young or so, and I thought he was losing, but I also didn't see Jimmy Young taking around. We were taught you have to be the aggressive. If you're the underdog or you're behind in the fight, you got to shift the momentum. And some of those rounds where I saw Ward even stepping it up a little bit could have been a draw, but there's other rounds that I don't think he really won the majority. He didn't take the fight. He didn't take the fight that dominantly for the amount of rounds that were given to him to win away from Kovalev. And the other thing I did see, too, and I was disappointed in Kovalev, it was a semi-role reversal. Because I saw at points, Kovalev looked like he was the boxer, and Ward looked like he wanted to get inside and mix it up and be the bruiser inside. And I saw that, and I said, why is Kovalev not turning on his gas where he had him hurt? Because those first few rounds, Billy, you saw the fear in Andre Ward's eyes. He knew he got hit with some sledgehammers, and he said, "Wow, I got to really think about this." And then, to his credit, he had his plan B. Kovalev did not, and that's why I was so upset, so frustrated. I still, no matter how you slice it, look at it, this, that, and everything else, I still give the fight dominated by Kovalev, and I still see him winning no matter what.
I agree. Kovalev won the fight. I stick to my guns, 114-113 in favor of Kovalev. Kovalev, what Andre Ward did do better, besides paying off judges and, having this fight totally not on the level, was simply conditioning. He was definitely better conditioned. Although when you looked at him in the corner, he was the one that was looking like he was gasping for air and everything else. But then when the bell sounded, he had the energy. It was completely the opposite with Kovalev. When I saw him in the corner, he wasn't even breathing hard. But when the bell rang, it looked like he was trying to conserve energy. But, hey, we're expected to get Dax to call us in here in a couple minutes, but let's get everybody caught up in the rest of the sports world. In the NFL yesterday.
Yes, please. I can't wait to say this.
Well, the good news is my Jets didn't lose. They didn't play, but they didn't lose. That's a good thing. But in the rest of the NFL, the Steelers beat the Browns 24-9. The Cowboys, watch out for them Cowboys, because you know what? I predicted after the second or third week, I predicted that the Cowboys will be playing the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl this year, and it certainly looks that way now. Cowboys topped the Ravens in an interesting game, 27-17. Quietly rising to the top, the Lions topped the Jaguars 26-19. Now the Jaguars are one of the worst teams in football besides the Jets, but nonetheless, the Lions are quietly doing very well. The Colts beat the Titans 24-17. The Bills squeaked out a close one against the Bengals 16-12. The Buccaneers even up their record, and they beat the Chiefs, who were one of the top records in football, 19-17. Your Giants came from behind to beat the Bears 22-16. Not sure what's going on with the Bears. They seem to be winning that game handedly in the first half, and then just took their foot off the gas and lost to your boys. But Vikings held on to beat the Cardinals 30-24 to break their losing streak. The Dolphins, how about that? The Dolphins, they come up from behind. They were trailing in this game by 10 points for most of the game until mostly more than halfway through the fourth quarter, picked up a touchdown, then went ahead and won the game 14-10. The Patriots beat the 49ers by 13, 30-17 was that score. The Seahawks beat the Eagles 26-15, and in a high-scoring game, the Redskins, who were also quietly, in the mix, they beat up on the Packers. Definitely not the Packs year, 42-24. Over in some other sports, NBA, the Knickerbockers topped the Hawks 104-94. Carmelo Anthony led the way for the Knicks, 31.7 rebounds, 3 assists. The Trailblazers beat the Nets 129-109. C.J. McCollum, 19.7 rebounds, 5 assists. The Pacers topped the Thunder 115-111. Jeff Teague had 30 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. The Kings over the Raptors 102-99. Rudy Gay, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. The Nuggets 105 over the Jazz, who scored 91 points. Jamel Murray, 18 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists. And the Bulls beat the Lakers 118-110. Jimmy Butler had 40 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. And to wrap it up, the NHL, Blue Jackets topped the Capitals 3-2. The Hurricanes over the Jets 3-1. The Panthers and the Rangers in a tightly contested game finally beat the Rangers 3-2 in a shootout. The Kings over the Ducks 3-2. And those Flames, the Flames, they won again 3-2 over the Red Wings. And that wraps up the other sports scoreboard for yesterday. And speaking of yesterday, well, how about the day before? Well, it was early yesterday morning. My man Dax Khan called in and gave us his thoughts on the fight, the Kovalev-Ward fight, and he got really pissed off. As a matter of fact, we got a lot of comments about Dax getting upset. And my man Dax joins us right now, Sal. And Dax, are you calmed down a little? Are you just as pissed? I mean, what's going on, my man?
Well, first I'm amused at how giddy Sal gets when you mention Flames. He starts giggling like, a little schoolgirl there. The Flames.
Well, it's a list that Billy puts in there. That's what I'm laughing at. I get giddy at the list. He does it.
What are you talking about?
Sorry,
I think
if anything, that would keep me calm.
And something that's a figment of your imagination, Sal. I'm not making fun of the name.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway,
what are you thinking? I think Sal's thinking the wrong thing, Dax. I really do. They're the Flames. They're the Flames.
All right,
They're the Flames.
Let's go on, Dax.
There's just so much more to it. This sport is, it's become truly, boxing has become a low-level sport. A lot of people, whether you, Sal, people listening, I know a lot of people on social media since the fight, and even though my opinion was like this before the fight, they're mad at me because boxing has become a very low-level sport, especially in terms of the type of audience it attracts. This Saturday was a highly anticipated bout, not only because you had 2 top names going in there fighting for a unified light heavyweight title, but this was supposed to make up for the Canelo and Golovkin fight not taking place. This was supposed to make up for so many other things that happened. This year went beyond what took place in the ring, beyond the scorecards, and it started before the fight ever started. I have followed, dedicated my time and effort and believed in boxing for well over 2 decades, even as a kid, watching on reel-to-reel in the basement of old Jack Dempsey fights with my uncle. The Ali fights on ABC or CBS. If a fight was big and it meant something, that's where it was. The past excitement that boxing once had of the Tyson era, of the Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, Duran foursome, even in the 90s when you had Chavez, De La Hoya, Whitaker, Jones Jr., we sit there, we crave for that, and it's not even that far back. And, then, Floyd Mayweather, we complained about, a lot of people complained about Floyd Mayweather, but something, Floyd Mayweather is the last superstar, and in my opinion, may be the last superstar this sport ever sees. Because Floyd Mayweather, irregardless of your opinions on his level of competition, of how exciting he was in the ring, and even Bill has said it before, Floyd Mayweather, was always in shape. Floyd Mayweather always came into that ring and put on a show, and Floyd, as I have always said, knew how to sell a show to make up for what didn't happen inside that ring. The modern-day fan that we see is ignorant. They're not even willing to learn. There's not even guys that are who've been, around the sport 10, 15 years are willing to learn and look at something and say, you know what, I see it from this way. They are willing to just sit there and take whatever is hand fed to them by what I call fake media and what I call troll fans. For example, after the fight, some guy named Joe Habib, who thinks he's some sort of media person, puts out these little videos called my S Talk. Puts out a video how he explains what it's like to be a winner, because he picked Andre Ward, what it's like to be a winner, and nobody else understands what it's like to be a winner because everybody else is a loser. You had a guy named Chris Williams from Boxing 24. He puts out a column, explaining, what a great journalist he is and how much knowledge he has. It was a close fight. Ward won by scores of 114, 113 times 3. I thought Ward won by 2 or 3 rounds, but I gave him 8. So you're telling me you think Ward won by 2 or 3 rounds, but you gave him 8 rounds. How can this be? And you call yourself a member of the media.
Well, it's
Paulie Malignaggi, a usually solid guy in terms of behind the mic. He can break fights down. Even Paulie can explain stuff that's kind of questionable to fans. He has that capability of giving both sides of the coin of what it would be like as a fighter and what you might be seeing as a fan, and he can say, why he could justify both sides of an opinion. Paulie was not so cordial after this. Paulie, anybody who disagreed with anything Paulie said other than what Paulie did in his commentary on Sky Sports in terms of breaking things down and explaining stuff and giving Andre Ward credit for everything, Paulie just kept retweeting everybody who said, great job, Paulie, what would I do without you? Anytime anybody debated anything with Paulie or anything Paulie said, Paulie actually got arrogant. At one point in time, there was a tweet where he actually told somebody that, you know what, you wouldn't be disagreeing with me if we see each other face to face. You're a tough guy behind the computer. Oh, you're a tough guy, Paulie? And you know something? I screenshot these things so this way guys like this can't say, I never did that. When Paulie said, he made a comment, he goes, irony is I've yet to speak to a single fighter that had Kovalev winning. It was 2 great fighters in a razor-close fight. So I asked him, I said, what fighters did you speak to, Paulie? What fighters exactly did you speak to? And he refused to reply. Even when I said K9 Bundridge, the multi-time 154-pound champion, he stated several times, and I said this on Saturday, he thought Kovalev was given an unfair deal. And when somebody asked him if he thought the fix was in boxing, K9 said, I'm not going to say so on this fight, but I will say this. I know many times when I was in the ring, judges telling Manny Stewart, I'm losing. What does that tell you about boxing? George Foreman, a Hall of Famer, an all-time great, George Foreman, he said, I like the fight. I'm unhappy with the decision. Vasyl Lomachenko, a guy who might be a little bit biased because of his friendship with Kovalev, but arguably, other than Chocolatito, could be the pound-for-pound best in the sport. He firmly believes that Kovalev won. Chris Eubank, he believes that Kovalev won. Shawnee Monahan, the light heavyweight contender, he believes Kovalev won. Kelly Pavlik, the former undisputed middleweight champion, believes that Kovalev won. All these guys believe, all these reputable, credible fighters believe Kovalev won, yet Paulie Malignaggi knows of no one.
The
racist agendas.
I like the comment, and I agree. I loved the fight too, but I hated the decision. And that to me, just as frustrated as you were on Saturday and continue to be, Dax. I share that frustration, and I think Sal does too, and a lot of fight fans do, because this sport is just becoming, it's a joke. Coach has coined boxing as being the WWE a couple of years ago, and it is so much taken that path. If fights are already predetermined, what's the sense of fighting? You know, I mean, just like all the Floyd Mayweather fans used to say and still say, Floyd could beat Triple G, so why should he fight him? If that's the attitude, then you know what? Why doesn't everyone just pick who they think is going to win, and that's that? Because we don't need to cover the sport anymore. It's a joke.
Glenn Troutbridge officially gave Andre Ward the 3rd round. How could you justify that?
No, that's amazing because you know what? Kovalev was so dominant the first round when he hurt Ward first, and then the second when he hurt Ward first, then the second round when he dropped him. And going into the third, he still carried the momentum. Although he was not as dominant or effective as he was in the second, he still won that third.
And the excuses to use these fights as reasons, not only with this fake media, but these fans to go out and race bait. There was no reason for it. The Concrete Jungle, a popular social media outlet website, and Gossip Talk on boxing, you know, they bring in Trump and Putin as part of the comments. After the fight, he talks about black excellence is once again reigning. When I asked, what does it have to do with color? And then, well, I'm Mexican, but so I pointed out because you're looking for these hits and you're looking for these likes. That's what you wanted. Some guy named Jets Green, because I had predicted Kovalev pre-fight. He told me that I was a racist. He told me to drink bleach, called me a faggot, said stuff about my children. Somebody named Timothy Taylor on our post-fight talks about how white boxing has ended. Time for you whites to head to the UFC. And, you know, I have pointed out several times to all of these people who wanted to call me a racist, and they had no answer when I said, you know something? My father was born in Puerto Rico. My mother was born in Mongolia. I don't have a single portion of American blood, if you want to call in terms of your family being traced back here from its roots. Nothing in my family can be, and there is no actual what you would call Caucasian inside of me, and there is no what you would call African American inside of me. So you know something? I am not on either side of this, and most people, they just get jaw dropped. They have nothing to say on that. But you know, this just seems to be the sport, and it is today. And they use these reasons just to build this up, and it's killing the sport. This is not the boxing that I used to care about. This has become a low-level sport. I feel sorry for it. I feel sorry for all these greats that built this sport up. I feel sorry for guys like you, Sal, who at one point in time, you know, you went out there and you gave it your all, and, you know, you, as a contender, a journeyman, all those guys, the Glenn Johnsons, the Emmanuel Augustus, those guys out there are spit on because of trash like this. I blame the promoters, Kathy Duva, for not doing a better job negotiating, Rock Nation for not doing a better job at handling stuff, letting a guy like Michael Yormark go out there and speak like a clown, like a circus barker, out there promoting every single thing but his fighters every time he opens up his mouth. This sport, I'm ready just to walk away from it. I have nothing positive to say about boxing anymore. Anything positive that goes on in this sport is looked over, it's ignored, their back is turned towards it.
You know, you bring up a real interesting point. Well, you bring up a lot of interesting points.
He does. You do.
Yeah, but you know, I tell you something. I believe that the racial thing is not just in boxing. It's really rampant right now, and it's terrible. And I think the division that's happening is pretty sickening.
But you know, Bill, boxing was the one thing in this world that had no race, no religion, it had no nationalities, universal sport. That was the one thing that we had. And what happens, we have people, even promoters and fighters. Steve Cunningham, one of the worst fighters that go out there and use this. Your friend, Nate Campbell, one of the worst out there all the time, using stuff on social media to race bait. Why? Because, as we spoke the other day, you're not a real champion. Don't talk about greatness. You always complain about your losses. You know something? A real champion, somebody who would have been great, Muhammad Ali, out there stood up for something. He didn't stand behind a keyboard. He risked his career. He risked his whole future, his families, and he stood up for something he believed in. These guys today, they want the attention, and that's all it is. This is not boxing. This is a joke. It's WWE. It's all pre-written, and I'm sorry. I'm ashamed of it.
Yeah, you got a right to be, and don't Nate Campbell and Cunningham and those guys, they make it worse. They're throwing fuel on the fire. And one other point I wanted to make, and I don't know if you saw this, and Sal, and I know Dax and I spoke yesterday, and we talked about it, but I don't know how many of you out there saw this and were as equally as pissed off as me. But here we are. We buy a pay-per-view, right? We're not watching this on network television. We're not watching this on HBO, which incidentally put an asterisk next to. We're watching it on a pay-per-view, all right? Which means we're paying top dollar to watch this fight. I was appalled and pissed that I had to sit through commercials, basically, for a pay-per-view event. When you're watching network television, you sit with commercials because they're paying for it. When you're listening to the terrestrial radio, you listen to commercials between the songs because they're paying for it. When you listen to Sirius Radio, you don't get commercials. Why? Because you're paying for it. When you watch pay-per-view on TV, you shouldn't have to sit through friggin' commercials. Why? Because you're paying for it. How many commercials did we have to sit through? And Dax makes a great point. He was involved with the live media call, and he said before anybody said anything, all they did was promote the sponsors. What kind of shit is this? Again, I say this all the time about boxing fans. The sport of boxing fleeces its fans, who pays the fucking bills for all the fighters and people involved. The fans pay the bills. But why does this sport fleece us the most out of any other sport? And Saturday night's pay-per-view, in addition to the horrific decision, and I'm not discrediting the fight, because the fight was great. I'm not even discrediting Andre Ward, because Andre Ward put on a great performance, but he didn't do it. He didn't do enough to win the fight. He did not do enough to win the fight.
Even Kathy Duva, who I've always been a big fan of, on that conference call, and people can find it, I asked her, why is Andre Ward being billed as the A side and Sergey the B side? Andre has fought 3 times in 3 years, not one fighter in the top 10. Sergey has been an active champion unifying the titles. Why is Sergey the B side? She was mad at me. I don't look at it that way as A sides and B sides. Yet you let your fighter take how much money less?
$3 million.
Kathy, you're the same as all the other ones, Kathy. I have no respect for you.
$3 million less. And the two.
You let your fighter get robbed.
Yeah, and lets the fighter get robbed, and it's a shame. And Kovalev fought 14 times in the last 5 years. Andre Ward fought 5 times in the last 6 years. So how do you let? You mentioned the Hagler Leonard fight on Saturday. How do you let a guy like Andre Ward? And I think Brett quietly and politely said it the best in the email that I just read. If we're not going to value a champion, whereas you got to beat the champion to win his title, at least give the champion the close rounds. If the round can go either way, why was Andre Ward getting the nod in that fight? He wasn't landing the harder punches. He was instigating the holds. He was the one that was backpedaling. I can't wait to get Larry Hazard's opinion on the scoring for this fight on Wednesday.
Absolutely, and people want to credit Andre Ward. Oh, well, he moved up a division, so he should get credit for that. He got off the deck once. He should get credit for that. Andre Ward himself compared himself to Leonard Hagler Hearns. You know something? You're not Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard went from welterweight all the way to light heavyweight. He beat the number 1 man in every division and took those titles one by one.
Yeah, no, and
you haven't done that. You're not close to it.
Well, and I can't stand, like you said yesterday, Dax, the attitude of Andre Ward, this pompous smirk that he's got, like he knew the outcome all along. All he had to do was finish on his feet. I said it multiple times last week. I said, and then Friday when we were giving our final thoughts, I said, or Thursday, whenever it was, I said, I am predicting Kovalev to win, and I said that the only way he can win this fight is by stoppage. I said, if this fight goes to scorecards, Andre Ward's going to win. I honestly did not think, and I said this Saturday night on the post-fight show, I honestly did not think that they were going to be able to possibly give it to Andre Ward. Not that it wasn't a good fight, not that it wasn't a close fight, but it wasn't a decisive win for Andre Ward. How they gave him the decision was beyond me.
I'm still shocked by it. Like I said, no way in shape. Yeah, I was talking to these two boxing fans. I told them to tune into our show. Maybe they're listening today.
That's probably all that's left, too.
And so I promote us when I'm out in public all the time. In fact, we should get business cards. I want to start passing them out. Billy C.
I'm glad you're promoting us for a change. Usually you're promoting everybody else on the show for free.
I'm learning, Bill. I'm learning. That private talk will pull me aside.
Thank God. Thank God. Don't let me send those flames after you.
Easy. I'm not falling for that bait. You're baiting me.
Oh God! Hey, that was like the other day. I was dancing with this really pretty woman, and she kept saying, "Hold me close." So I was holding her close. She said, "Hold me close." I said, "I'm holding you as close." She said, "Hold me closer." I said, "If I hold you any closer, I'll be behind you." But anyway, Dax, quick question: Darlys Perez, Maurice Hooker fight. Another travesty, man. I mean, I watched that fight. I thought Darlys Perez won that fight easily. I think he could have sat on the stool and gave the last 2 rounds to Hooker and still win the decision. What's your quick thoughts on that one? I guess we lost Dax.
Oh, no, I thought you were asking Sal.
Oh, no. I was asking you, Dax.
My opinion, but go ahead, Dax.
That was another fight. That was another one where all they did was push Hooker nonstop. You know who they wanted to win. You knew what the outcome was going to be. How Darlys Perez, other than the fact he was moving up the division, could have been considered the underdog. The only time he has ever lost was to a world champion there now, a guy he already had a draw with, and then a Yuriorkis Gamboa at a time when people thought Gamboa was really a special fighter. So how Perez was considered the underdog is beyond me. The only people that he was an underdog to are the guys that thought the judges might not put in the right scorecard. They might not put in the one that was made out for them the day before.
Exactly. And you know, Dax, I think you hit it on the head. It clearly looks like all the judges filled out their scorecards before the fights. I mean, and the worst part about it on Saturday night to me was that we really were treated, except for the Chilimba fight, we really were treated to some very entertaining fights. You know, it's just that the Darlys Perez and the Kovalev-Ward fight, you know, those decisions were the wrong ones. They clearly were. And you know, I don't want to be criticized by everybody about Ward because I'm giving him all the credit in the world. He did look good. It was a great fight, but he didn't win. I mean, it was a close fight. And people are going to say to me, well, a close fight could go either way. It's subjective. But that's not entirely true. You know, I mean, you can't give those close rounds to Ward when he didn't decide. If he landed the harder punches, or even, and I don't even go by the stats, but even if he landed more punches in a round, you know, you give it. He didn't land the harder punches. He didn't land more punches. His accuracy wasn't any better. I mean, every stat points to Kovalev, except for the scorecards, like Dax said, that must have been filled out the night before.
And Ward did have a slightly higher connect percentage, but, you know, he wasn't busier than Ward is. You know, there's one last thing. There's a few fighters out there who've been saying, you know what, only fighters should be judges now. The fans and the media, they don't understand. They don't know. But, you know, I can name, and I won't today because we don't have time, a list of 30 different guys who I know are active or either champions or top 10 contenders that can't tell you anybody in their division who holds the world title. They can't tell you anything outside of what goes on with themselves. Yeah, how are they going to judge a pro fight? I remember going to a gym and nobody knew who Vladimir Klitschko was when Klitschko was the king of the division. Yeah, every guy there said they were going to be a future world champion. Yet you don't know who the guy is, the undisputed lineal heavyweight champion in the world. Yet you're somebody, and these are going to be the guys who judge the fights. Even Billy Costello, who was a good judge, he messed up every now and then.
Listen, you know, it's why the game is subjective. I mean, and you know what, Dax, before we let go, I'm going to hit it right on the head with what you said. You said it best on Saturday. You said in Vegas, which is traditionally, you know, we've seen some crazy scores, But when did we see? First of all, most people disagree with the score. But when do you see not one, not two, but all three judges end up submitting the same scorecard, 114, 113 in favor of Ward?
Never.
It definitely
That's
smells
unbelievable.
fishy. And Dax, you said it Saturday night. And, I hope there's some kind of investigation. People are calling for an investigation for the Darlys Perez and Maurice Hooker fight. But I don't see why they wouldn't be calling for an investigation for the Ward Kovalev fight. It is a close fight. It was a close fight, I should say. And we all know that boxing is subjective. But how you can give a close round and give the nod to Ward, something is prejudicial here, I think.
The only way this could have went right is if Adelaide Bird, C.J. Ross were over on the judging tables and Lawrence Cole was the ref inside the ring. That would have been the only way it could have been fair, because you know what? They'd have got it right by accident, just like they always get it wrong.
Exactly. Dax, some great points, and we'll look forward to you later in the week, my man.
All right, everybody.
Yeah, Dax is still fired up, and he's got a right to be, But
Sure.
Overall, Sal, it was a good fight. I hate, this is the problem with boxing. We take 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. In other words, here we are. We get the fight that we wanted. We get a crowd that we wanted. I'm sure the pay-per-view numbers are going to be good, even though a lot of people, went in the back door, so to speak, to get the fight. And then everyone gets treated to a good fight, and then we get that decision. That kind of puts a damper on things, right?
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. And like I said, I have a scorecard in front of me right now. I even reversed a couple of rounds that I had for a draw or even gave to Kovalev that might have been close, and even reversing them, I still have Kovalev winning. I just don't see the same game board that 3 judges had a unanimous decision for Ward. I just don't see it. I don't see how it's plausible. I don't see how it's possible. So, like I said, you want to have an investigation? They should definitely look into this.
Right. And that's my point.
They're going to find a couple hanging chads, I guarantee you.
Well, my point is that it's a controversial fight.
Yeah.
Except you get a controversial 3-way identical scorecards, which makes it controversial.
That's right.
If you ended up with, one saying Ward won and one saying Kovalev won, and then that plant judge that has it even. I'm okay with that. I can live with that. I can live with the draw, because it doesn't really, take those titles. And as much as I don't put value in titles anymore, I believe that the biggest travesty in this fight, not only for giving the nod to Ward, but to take the titles from Kovalev, who's earned them. He didn't get handed a title. And I'm not suggesting that Andre Ward didn't earn what he got to in this sport, because he's done more and fought tougher opposition than most fighters ever fight in their careers today, in today's sport. So, and I used to be a big fan of Ward, but Ward has turned into the biggest diva in boxing, and he doesn't back it up. I never liked Mayweather for what he does inside the ring, because he's a boring fighter. I like fighters who engage. I like fighters who fight. I don't like fighters who run and steal fights and then pound their chest and say the best. That's what Andre Ward has become. And it's disheartening for me. And I think this sport is in some serious trouble, Sal.
Yeah, you make all good points there, Bill. And I'm afraid you're right to a certain degree. Like I said, I'm just hoping the evolution of boxing will continue to recycle, reboot itself, and we'll have some new figures in there to step it up and to reclaim the beautiful sport and that it is, and the real game that isn't affected by politics across the board.
How does it change?
That's what's always made boxing so great.
Yeah, but how does it change?
It went across political divides. It went across, when you had the old fights between Joe Louis or Max Schmeling and the old representing this different countries and all this stuff. It's a different game today.
Yeah, but how does it change? And that's my point. It's not gonna. Back in the day, we had one world champion. And so what you're asking, if we ever wanted this sport to be what it used to be, the first thing that would have to take place is that the sanctioning bodies would have to either all merge together or just get rid of most of them except for one. And that's never going to happen. So what you're asking is you're asking a business, because let's be real,
it's a business.
Whether you fight fans or any sport fan out there know it or not, the sanctioning bodies is a business. It's not just finding the best fighters and putting a belt around their waist. It's a business. They make their money. They generate their revenue through fights. So to suggest that they will take their claws out of their cash cow, which is the sport of boxing, is impossible. That's like asking, Verizon to all of a sudden, give all their customers to Sprint. It's not going to Did I just promote those two? I was just
going to say, Bill, whoa, you shit, man. I'll tell you what, Bill. You're hanging around me too much, pal.
I tell you what, I can't be giving that shit away, man. But
man, you just, whoa.
I know. I guess I'm distraught. But,
well, you're just distraught. You're not speaking of your right mind right now. You're a little bit upset. I understand.
Yeah.
But no free promotion. Come on, right? Doesn't pay you to say that.
Now listen. Speaking of that, let's promote this. We'll be back on Wednesday. We have the holiday here in the United States. I know we have a lot of you guys watching and listening to us, outside the U.S., but it is our Thanksgiving on Thursday, so we will be out for the holiday. So we will be back on Wednesday to do our final show of the week, and we'll get you all caught up. We'll give you some predictions. We do have some good fights scheduled for this weekend and next, and the final couple of weeks of the year. So we will have some stuff to talk about, but in the meantime, maybe the smoke will clear a little bit with the Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward fight. We will get you all caught up to date on that. Remember, if you take the time to drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, I'll take the time to read it live. We will, it doesn't look like we're going to get a chance to open up the phone lines this week. But maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll do something on Saturday night. There is a good fight taking place. So I'll let me review what the schedule looks like, and maybe we'll do a post-fight Saturday. But I'll tell you what, Sal, on this day, November 21st, is it the 21st already?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Jeez, I'll tell you what, this really flying by this year. But on this day, November 21st in 1987, Julian Jackson knocks out In Chol Beck in the third round to win the vacant WBA World Junior Middleweight title. Took place in Vegas. On this day in 1984, Kausi Galaxy knocks out Ebizio Espanol in the sixth round to win the vacant WBA World Junior Bantamweight title. Took place in Bangkok. On this day in 1987, the great Julio Cesar Chavez knocks out Edwin Rosario in the 11th round to win the WBA World Lightweight title. Took place in Vegas. And on this day, November 21st in 1971, Muhammad Ali knocks out Bob Foster in the 8th round to retain his NABF heavyweight title, and he improves to 40 wins and 1 loss in their heavyweight fight that took place in State Line, Nevada on this day in 1971. Hey, Sal, that concludes our show today. You got any final thoughts?
No, I'll tell you what. I just I appreciate and I love Dax's passion, and I hope he does calm down, because he is a good catalyst and asset to have with boxing, and I hope the passion he can fire and find will be directed to the righteousness and the hopefully the good of boxing, which it always has been for him, and that's why he's so passionate about seeing such a turn of events as it unfolded itself Saturday night. And but I do empathize and share his feelings. I really do. It's a shame. But the final thoughts, boxing shall survive and will go on and will reboot itself on some level whenever it hits its rock bottom. And then it's going to be people that are passionate, like Dax, like you, like Guy, like the fans out there, like the fighters that want to fight, to get out there and bring it back to the top. And let's hope so. You and I wrote that little game book, Bill, off air. And we talked how can we how can we fix and reset boxing. We have that little game plan. I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition because it's just you and I against the sport. But if it did, it would be a great thing. Maybe we could sell our secrets someday, but or share them with everybody.
All you gotta do is all you gotta do is find a checkbook that's got some money in it, and we can make it happen. You know, because that's what it boils down.
Sure.
If Al Heyman would have did what I want to do, we would be in a different state right now. But instead, he kind of made it worse because now what you have is an overall feeling from fighters. They don't want to fight the tough fights, but they want to get paid the maximum amount of money. And once that happens, you can't expect, like Floyd Mayweather, for example, is not going to fight for less than $200 million. That's what he made in his last fight. Floyd Mayweather will not step in that ring unless he can make the same amount of money. And so will other fighters. Once they make that $1 million payday, they're never going to want to fight again for less than that. And, that's the unfortunate part. Al Heyman has created a lot of overpaid fighters, a la Danny Garcia, who brags about fighting bums and making several $1 million. It just goes to show you that the desire to be the best in the ring, in the field of play, which in this case is boxing, is secondary to making the money and being safe. And whether that's good for the individual or not is not the issue, because I do agree that it's better for the individual, but not for the sport in this case. And we're suffering from it. And I got news for you. The safety first attitude has become across the board in all sports, and all sports are suffering right now. Attendance is at an all-time low. You got TV ratings for the NFL, which pretty much owns the ratings when they air a football game, is at its all-time low, or at least since in the last decade. So, I mean, the proof is in the statistics. So only time will tell, like you said, Sal. But I'm going to leave everybody with this. Don't forget to tune in. Wednesday. Don't forget to tune in. Wednesday morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.
Batman.